Would you like me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. Good to see you this morning. Good to see those of you that I can't see. I'm glad you're with us. Happy Mother's Day to everyone that applies to. I don't want to, there's a long list of folks who qualify as mothers, so I hope it's a good day for you all. Let me get my handy notes here. My name's Debbie Hough, and I'm here to talk to you, give you an update on what's happening with Pakistan. So I want to thank all of you for being here and for taking this journey with me to Pakistan. For those of you who are online, you can't see, but everyone who's here except Jack King has actually been to Pakistan, so they're going to take a trip again, a trip back. And during our time here this morning, we'll be moving back and forth in time. So we'll start a little later, jump back, come back again, and we'll eventually stop for a period of time in the city of Sargodha, Pakistan, and then we'll come back here to Hershey. And for those who are here and for those online, I invite you to consider making this journey for real. I've actually been to Pakistan 3 times now, 2015, 2017, and Dr. Tom Davis made that trip with me. And then in 2019, 12 of us went to Pakistan. And I think, just talking with Stephen, we're thinking the plan would be to have a Derry group go back in 2024. That's the plan at this stage. We were hoping maybe a little earlier, but hard to say what 2023 will bring for us. But we want to go in 2024 for a special celebration. Not only will it be Derry's 300th anniversary year, but there'll be something special happening in Pakistan too. So I invite you now to consider going with us when we make the next trip to Pakistan. Come in, come in. They told me to start and I knew I was early. So folks, I'm sorry, you're not late. You're on time. I found this little kind of a booklet brochure that when they closed the Presbyterian Resource Center a few years ago, I saved this and I hadn't really looked at it. It was from a magazine, Church and Society from 1986. And it was at the time celebrating the 150th anniversary of the creation of the Presbyterian Foreign Mission Board. And I thought I would just kind of browse through it a little bit and see what it might say in relation to what's been happening with Pakistan. And I want to share a few things from this article called More Than They Knew. The early Presbyterian missionaries had no intention of starting Presbyterian churches in other countries. Their declared intent was to have its effect in the lives of those who accepted Christ, and to let the church develop in a form growing out of the converts and their culture. But the early converts, few in number, often expelled from family and community, in need of fellowship and worship, were inclined to emulate their teachers and to use their missionary friends as models. In spite of idealistic intentions, Presbyterian churches appeared in many parts of the world. You'll get to see at least 2 Presbyterian churches in Pakistan. These early missionaries reflected the Presbyterian concern for education. If church members were to be responsible believers before God, then they must study the Bible. Reformed church people believe that the scriptures should be in the hands of the laity, that an individual believer can discern what he or she is to believe, and that one should live through personal study of the written word. Such study should be checked against what the community of believers discern in the scriptures and state in their confessions. High standards of education were set for the clergy who would assist the church in understanding the scriptures. Therefore, schools were started because the Presbyterian understanding of the church required an educated clergy and an informed membership. Such education also opened people to a greater understanding of the world and prepared them to be effective citizens. This system of education and the worldview of Christians laid the groundwork for good and for not so good of the industrial expansion of the West into Asia and Africa. Pakistan would be considered part of Asia. And that's what those missionaries did early on, was create schools. There is a seminary in Pakistan, Presbyterian Seminary, and there is a lot of schools. And the PCUSA owns the property. That was what amazed me the most when I first heard this story in 2009. We own a lot of property, valuable property. When the missionaries purchased this property, it was undeveloped. And so they built schools, they built hospitals, and now, as has happened in every country, as countries develop, this property has become prime real estate. So, as you might imagine, there's often fights over this property, but it is the PCUSA that owns it. And we'll come back to some of those issues. Now, Pakistan. It's in the shape of a duck. Literally, it really is. And it has some interesting neighbors that border it. Lord have mercy to have these folks as your neighbors. China, Afghanistan, Iran, India. And then there's this small part up here. I mean, the bill might even go a little further, as this Kashmir area is constantly being fought over. So that's kind of a border that's not solid. That's under great discussion with India as to who that part of the world belongs to. What you can't see on here, it shows pretty dark. Most of what we will be talking about happens in this dark green area, which is called the Punjab. And that's where 5 rivers meet. You can't see any of that either. But right here is the city of Lahore. And that's where the Presbyterian Education Board of Pakistan is located. So when we travel, and I thought I would show this to you again for those folks who are sitting on this side of the room who've been. This will be a walk down memory lane. But I wanted to show it to everybody because we're really hoping that when we take another trip, for some folks who haven't been to Pakistan, you might consider going. And this is what it's like. I wanted to give you some idea of what a trip to Pakistan is going to be like. Pakistan is an Islamic republic, established in 1947, the same year that Israel was established, post-World War II, as folks are jockeying for position and power. British Empire has been increasingly divided up or is gone by then. And until 1947, where these missionaries were doing their work, was India. Pakistan was part of India until this time. And then they formed East Pakistan and West Pakistan. Now, if I get this correct, this is West Pakistan, I think, with India. Charlie, thank you. I have no sense of direction. Pakistan is West Pakistan, and what was East Pakistan is now Bangladesh. So these countries were created. There was a gentleman there, Jin, it was his name, and he was a lot of this negotiating and power playing that happened, interesting stories, to create an Islamic state. So he became the first president, and what they didn't know at the time was he had terminal cancer. So he did not survive very long as president of Pakistan, and it's been a constant up and down ever since. But it was not an easy period of time. Gandhi knew what was going to happen. There was a lot of bloodshed killed, lots of people killed as this Islamic State is forming. Hindus, Sikhs. You got to get out of here. You go to India now. Sikhs are still not in Pakistan except for High Holy Day when they're allowed back in Pakistan. So it was a very difficult time. Just saying established 1947 doesn't do it justice. And as is true in Israel and the Middle East, it's still a constant turmoil of what happens over there. Even though it's very small, the fifth most populous country. A lot of people in Pakistan. Official languages, Urdu, which is like Hebrew. It's very strange script, and you read it from right to left. No, I'm not doing that right. Left to right. You read it like Hebrew. You're going to read it backwards. And most people understand English if they're not willing to try it. Most of them understand it. They teach English over there. So it's not an issue. A lot of signs are in English as well, so you can see a lot of things. Some are not, and who knows what those signs say. Hard to say. And they speak 60 languages. I mean, there's Punjabi, there's a lot of dialect over there. So when we go, we're never left alone. You're always with people from the staff of PEB who can translate, interpret, negotiate for you. So you're never left to wander alone, because how on earth would you be able to tell somebody who you were and where you wanted to go if they assumed they didn't understand? Was created as a Muslim state, that there's high percentage of Muslims, small percentage of Christian, and small percentage of other. Their flag is predominantly green for Islam, and then there's a white section which represents, in their mind, the willingness to have other religions there, although they are a very small population. Literacy rate, they're working on that. That's with all of these schools, trying to get that literacy rate up higher. And per capita income, it's hard to imagine how you would survive on less than $1,700 a year. So these Presbyterian missionaries went over there, established the schools. The church schools were taken over by the government in 1971, 72. They took them back. The Presbyterian Education Board was disbanded. And then the government came back in 1998 and said, ooh, a big mistake. We should not have done that. Presbyterian Education Board, PCUSA, take them back. Again, that's easier said than done. The PEB right now has 25 schools, and Jim, you're on the board, so correct me if at any point I give bad numbers here.
You're doing fine.
25 schools back up and running. And I'll say a little bit more about this too. And they're very excited about how well these students are doing. And it's all state exams. that they have to meet and match. So they're very excited about the future for nearly all of these children who attend their schools. And feel free to stop me at any time. So this is the 2019 group. And we became known as the Derry Dozen. I don't know, it just happened to be 12 of us that went. So if you see any of these people, a number of them are here. Tom Davis is supposed to be back this month. Tom never stays in Hershey. He travels all over the place. Cindy Bill DeMuth are here. Pete Files here. Doris is in the building somewhere, I'm sure. Ann Geist, Lois and Greg Harris. Me, I'm Debbie Hough. Ann and Jim Crow are here, and Nancy Reinert. And we look at these groups as exploration. They're not really mission trips. Yet they have to be very careful about who comes over under their umbrella. You don't just go to Pakistan. You have to be invited. So someone sponsors you to come. And you have to get a visa. That's a little nerve-wracking, as the DeMuths can tell you. If it's denied or whatever, then you have to go to Washington, D.C., and I don't know what all happened. Pete, you got into that too. Getting these visas to go. And one of the PEB staff, Simon Jacob, has always sponsored us. And I would think he has to be, I'm glad they're here, I'm glad they're gone. The Americans came, I didn't get in trouble. Because his name is on the line with all of these people coming in here. But we go as exploration for information. We don't go do mission work. And PEB is very careful about who goes. Friends of PEB is very careful about who goes. Because if you go over there and you start preaching or proselytizing in any way, that would be the end of it. That is not permitted. You can't proselytize a Muslim. And in a tense situation, they're very well liked by the Muslim community over there, because most of the students quite a few of the students are Muslim, and they know they're getting a great education. So they're very supportive of this community. But not everyone is. And the blasphemy law, which still exists, is I could just accuse you of blasphemy. And there's not much you can do. And it could be a death sentence, depending on what happens with it. It's, they never know from day to day what might occur. So they go about their business, doing what they need to do, which is educating children. And so we don't go as mission. It's no kind of a mission trip. It's just for information. So when you go over there, generally speaking, I've never been to any other place than these places. Lahore is where you begin and end. Martinpur, Sangla Hill, and Sargodha. Those are the places that you visit. That's how we looked before we left. And we're still smiling when you get over there. That's quite a plane trip, several plane trips. You think you're getting close when you get over to, where did we go, to Dohar?
Yeah, Dohar.
And then you still have a couple hour flight to get into Lahore. It's a long trip. Longest one I've ever done. Some of you who travel a good bit may have done something. Australia must be tougher. South Africa, maybe. But it's packed. It's a jam-packed plane. But we got there. And they greet you. You're like celebrities. Everybody in the airport's just kind of like, white people. A lot of white people. What's going on? And so you gather attention wherever you go. And you especially do when you've got those things on. Garlands, leis, whatever those are, around you, and you get many of these by the time you're done. Now, we were the first group who stayed at what was a guest house. This was a building the missionaries had built and used. Really nice building, and it was the first time any group going over there had actually stayed on the PEB campus. Usually we were staying in a college or someplace, and they would have to shuttle us all over the place. A couple of vans, cars, and shuttle us here and there. But for the first time, we stayed on campus, and it made a huge difference. And the PEB office was right there. We could visit with people more, and they were thrilled that it worked out great. There have been other groups who've stayed since, but we were the first. So it was really, really nice. So it's not roughing it, let me just say. And we had Western bathrooms. When you're wearing all of this, it's an issue. You can learn to not use a Western bathroom. For those who have traveled other places, men, I don't know if you ever get issues like this, but I'm not even going to get this. Let me just say, it works. It can happen. You can do it. But these had Western bathrooms. Showers were not everybody had a shower. So we learned to shower with a bucket and kneeling on the floor. You can do that too. And but much nice accommodations. Really nice. Good food they cook for us. And this is one of the largest Presbyterian churches, Nalaka Presbyterian Church. Pastor's Reverend Majid Abel. You can't really see him here. He's right there. But he opens his pulpit to everybody. Nancy Reinert preached while we were there. So it was not an issue for him to have a woman preach at his church. That could be an issue in some places. It was not for Majid. You'll see him in lots of other pictures if you know what he looks like. He was educated at Louisville Seminary. His English is it's amazing. He has such great communication skills, and he's a very powerful person in this part of the world. With such few Presbyterians, he's always on the PEB board, or he's on the Presbyterian Church of Pakistan's board. He's been moderator. He rotates hats that he wears there, but very, very supportive of the education that's happening there. Worship very similar, not exact, but similar. Greg sang a solo, different kinds of instruments that they have. It was very similar, and we got involved in confirmation, and they had us up. There were 13 confirmation students, so I think Margie Trimble, who was with us, we all got up and were paired up with a confirmation student and helped congratulate them. So you just have to be ready to go with the flow. We also were at a second Presbyterian church, Nava Road, and in that one, somehow we became the choir. We sang an anthem for that group that Greg fronted for us, which, thank goodness. People are so welcoming, so glad that you are there. So as you can see, we're out in the front there, but very similar kinds of worship styles. And they'll sightsee with you. They're very proud of things that are there. They want you to see those things. The history, Wagah border crossing is unbelievable. That's this. That is a gate between Pakistan and India. And twice a day, it opens and closes. And I've only ever been to the closing ceremony when they close it. These are Pakistani soldiers. There's a matching group on the India side. So what one side does, the other side does. It's quite a show. And it lasts a long time. These are very tall men. There's a fort there, we got to see that, the Shalimar Gardens, beautiful, we got to see that too. And I think it's the second largest mosque, the Shahi Mosque, just an amazing place, gorgeous place. They give tours of that. They took us on a bus tour. This was something new for them. We played music, we all had to dance. I think we all had to dance at some point in time. But you get to see a little bit more when you're looking down. But quite fun. The PEB staff had a good time doing that. First school we visited is right on the PEB campus, the Kinnaird Academy. It's their flagship school. Very, very good. And we could walk right over to that. And we got to see a competition. A lot of competition. Then we went to Samba Hill, which is a drive. And they greet you. There's the girls are lying on the ground spelling out PEB. They dance. They throw things at you. You come late, and by the time you just walk from your bus to the school. This was also the first boarding house that was built by Presbyterian Women's birthday offering. So that's the Presbyterian Women's symbol, and all the boarding houses in other places look like that. That's where Christian girls will stay on campus and live to go to school. And the She Project was there, headquartered there, and the women did mending for us with the henna. The She Project does not exist as it once did. They lost their funding from the Germans, and that right now does not exist. They're working on some alternatives, but right now that doesn't happen. That's another project that we help support. On the way to a village in Martinport, we saw a brick factory. You'll notice all the buildings are brick, and primarily red brick, and it's because that's a huge industry there. This particular brick factory was on its way out. They were closing it because of pollution control. That's one thing there's not a whole lot of in Pakistan, is pollution control. It takes a little while to kind of adapt to the breathing there. And you're not permitted to drink any water. Everything's bottled water, so you have to be super careful with that. So any kind of pollution control is not really. The fact that they are making an attempt with this is a good sign. We visited Martinport, a very poor rural village that now is going to have quite a campus of beautiful school buildings. The first time I went to Pakistan in 2015, I traveled with a guy named Sam Martin. And Sam Martin was the great-great-grandson. He's now president of the board. He's an awesome gentleman. And gentleman really is the right word for Sam. He, grandson of the Presbyterian missionary Sam Martin, who went there, founded this Christian village called Martinport. And the trip in 2015 was the first time anybody in the family had come back. Whoa. They do know how to celebrate. Dancing horses, ox carts, which we had to ride on, which were like really scary. We danced with Presbyterian women in the street. He was overwhelmed. He was absolutely overwhelmed. But what he has done with his family and friends is build a school. They have rebuilt this school. They still have some work to do in Martinport, and somebody asked me one time, had you ever seen camels? And I think I'd maybe seen one. Well, oh my gosh, we turned around and here came a whole herd of camels. I don't know what all they do. I know I don't know what all camels do. You don't see too many of them over there. This was the She Project. All of the shawls, these outfits that we wear, were all created by the She women. And the Shaw project, which we don't know too much about, is still up and functional. It's sort of like a self-development people. They do microloans for these women's businesses to get off the ground and function. So these women have some way of supporting themselves and their families. But the She Project does not exist right now. They celebrate these children and their efforts a lot. There we are in the back of a classroom of girls. No, there's boys in there too. Now, they can go to school together, boys and girls, through 5th grade. And then they have to be separated by sex. Muslim law. And so we ended up in Sargodha. And again, a humongous welcome. These young girls that all have the paper bags, that's some things we took with us. Beanie Babies and some little odds and ends that we packaged in paper bags. They were thrilled. These are the Christian girls who live on campus. These are the boarding house students. You know, it's amazing. They get the opportunity to be safe, to be fed, and to learn. So these boarding houses are very important. The Christians are the poorest of the poor over there. They can't often get good jobs. So PEB supports these girls by giving them scholarships to live on campus. They had a blast. We had a great time meeting these young girls. Now, Derry's, we'll get into some of the scholarship things here. I don't trust my, I don't trust my statistics here. The Friends of Sargodha group, which Susie Gleckler chairs for us, we've been sponsoring as a church 10 scholarships, 10-day students for a long time. And then we started the Shares for Scholarships program, and people have been giving. So we've added another 15 scholarships. Actually, 15 day students and 2 boarding house students. So that's 27 scholarship students that Derry supports. Mission and Peacemaking's 5 boarding house. 5 boarding house girls. So what's that, 32? And then there are at least 4 or 5 folks who don't go through the Shares for Scholarship program, don't go through Derry. They go straight to Friends of PEB to give scholarships. So we're up even further with scholarships that are here from Derry that are ongoing, that these girls, once they get in school, as long as they stay in school, we'll be giving them scholarships. Then, for folks who gave to the Shares for Scholarship program or the Mission Madness, all of that goes into a general scholarship fund, and who knows how many children are helped. That PEB uses as they need it to help fund children to go. So if you had told me in 2015 even that we would be doing this much, I would have been shocked. But we do more. But these are our scholarship students. So if you go and you have a student, you'll get to meet them. So they're delighted to have us meet these children and young adults, depending on who they are. We also have, the last few times I've been there, we've been privileged to attend an interfaith event where we get to hear from the Muslim community. A lot of the imams come and tell us what they're doing from a grassroots level to create a better Pakistan and to get along. There's a lot of things we don't hear about that they are working on, trying to get rid of that blasphemy law and different things. They're working from the bottom up. So we often only hear what the government is doing, but there's a lot of things that are happening. Then this particular group, 2 families had purchased rugs made in Pakistan at 10,000 villages. in Ephrata. And they had asked if we were over there, could we see a place where rugs are made? So, my goodness, it's just around the corner from the PEB office. They drove us around the corner to a rug making place. And these folks are Episcopalian, so it's a Christian rug making place. And they said if we ever come back, they would take us into the homes. They train families to make rugs, and they provide them with the looms and the materials and the patterns to make these unbelievable rugs. I'm just telling you. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous. And this is paper. This one's paper, so you can see how the pattern will look. And then they just started, they stretch the rugs out up on the roof when they come back there. So they clean them, they stretch them, they finish them. They showed us one rug more beautiful than the next on their display. And then, I think it was Ann and Jim made the connection. Somebody said, well, where can we buy these rugs? Can we buy a rug? No, you can't buy a rug in Pakistan, but you could buy it in Ephrata. It's them. That's who the Harrises and the Crows bought rugs made in this place.
Exactly.
Made over here.
I mean, they showed us our exact pattern. I think Greg says, that's our rug.
We had to go all around the world to find this out. But it's two sets of brothers, so there's brothers that run the operation there and brothers that come over here. Now, 10,000 Villages is now closed, but the,
Lidditz.
Boneyard.
it's in
Oh, yeah.
Bunyard, the Bunyard Market in Lidditz. If you get the opportunity to go, it's a beautiful building, and you'll get to see these rugs. They've taken over for 10,000 Villages, Bunyard Market. Gorgeous, gorgeous. They gave us a party. We took them out to eat and to celebrate their hospitality, and wives came, so you get to meet some of their families too. And this was on one of the bulletin boards. And it just occurred to me, when we were there in 2019, I thought, you know what? In seeing how education, the most powerful weapon you can change the world. I wish there was a different word than weapon, tool maybe, or something. I don't know what a better word would be, but my goodness, how much has changed in the world since 2019? We would never have guessed what was gonna happen. Pandemic affected everything, but I have to say, we would check in with them on a regular basis. They did very well. They had high standards of protocol, and government officials could drop in at any point, and they were always pleased to see how well these students were doing. But high levels of pandemic protocol for the children and the staff and for everybody over there. Since then, the Pakistan government has had a coup of sorts, and their president, the soccer player guy, is gone, and now it's a more conservative government. So things are a little unstable again. We had a switch here in the United States, not an easy transition. I don't think, no matter where you stand on that level, I don't think anybody could say that was an easy transition over here. But I would say, I was telling Jack, one thing, and I don't know yet how this impacts the next group that goes, or when we go, but the January 6th event over here had a profound effect over there. I don't think we know what that event, the ripples that have happened around the world because of that. They watched it just as we watched it. And for the first time, I think at least these folks were very concerned, because their livelihood depends on the United States, Presbyterians in the United States. And for the first time, they saw that on shaky ground and were very concerned about that, as a lot of us World War II, and maybe still are. So I don't know, I don't know exactly what happens when the United States, when Americans travel around the world in a place like this, who kind of watches for something they can use in their propaganda or whatever, and they were gifted that particular day. So that we just have to remember what happens here has profound international impact. We may not be aware of that, but it is true. Okay, let me stop here. We're going to go to Sargodha. Sargodha, we ended up focusing Sargodha because there was a crisis at the time. We were over there, and we just ended up focusing scholarship attention to Sargodha area. That's where we started. And the She Project, that was another place. And then, when we were there, when our group was there before we left, they challenged us. Sargodha is a big city. They needed more space. They were overcrowded, particularly in the boys' school. A lot of people want their kids to get this kind of education. It's like prep school education over here. Very academic. And they needed more room. So they challenged us to help them do that. So the first thing during the pandemic, when Vita she wasn't traveling as much, we couldn't travel. Friends of PEB were like, what can we do? What are we able to do? So we started creating virtual tours from places. If you can't go, we'll take you over there. So we took a virtual tour. This is not the right website. Let me go back. And so Sargodha was an area of concern. There's a lot of people who have supported Sargodha around the country. One of the things we wanted to do desperately was finish the boarding house. It had never been able to be finished. So we wanted, could we raise enough money during a pandemic to finish the girls' boarding house? And we did. It happened, and you'll get to see some of that. But let's go to, this is the Friends of PEB website. I encourage you to visit this anytime. There's Nancy. You'll see pictures of people you know, like there. And they're going to take us on a trip to Sargodha. Can you see all right?
3 hours west of Lahore is the city of Sargodha. Established by the British in 1903, this once small town has grown to become Pakistan's 12th largest city, with a population of 660,000 people. Sargodha is often called the California of Pakistan because it produces such a wide variety of citrus fruits, and one fruit in particular, the kinu, which resembles an orange, is grown and harvested at a greater rate in Sargodha than anywhere else on earth. Sargodha is known as the City of Eagles because of the key role that the city plays in the national defense of Pakistan. Sargodha is also known as one of the premier centers of education in Pakistan, and this is why PEB has invested 3 schools in the city.
That's the whole campus.
First is the Christian Girls High School, which was founded more than 100 years ago and is one of the oldest schools today in Sargodha. After 60 years in existence, the school was nationalized by the Pakistani government in 1972, resulting in a sharp decline of quality for both education and infrastructure. The school quickly deteriorated, and much work needed to be done when control was given back to PEB in 1998. Once again, God moved in the hearts of men and women to come alongside us in our effort to return the school to its former glory. Today, many students from all over the city attend the high school, from nursery and prep class all the way up to grade 10. Education is truly one of the greatest gifts that we can give our young people today, and you have made that possible in Sargodha. Next, we have the English Medium Girls School, which started in 2002 with 1 classroom and 5 students. Now, nearly 20 years later, there are 11 classrooms and scores of students who come to the campus every day. Much of the work that has been completed over the last 17 years would not have been possible without the support of our friends in the United States, specifically in Kansas and Minnesota. These friends specifically allotted money for the construction of additional classrooms, and we extend our heartfelt gratitude to them for their dedication, their generosity, and their prayers. And most of all, we praise God that He has placed within the hearts of His people special affection for our students in Sargodha. Thank you, friends, for giving these students a safe, clean, and productive environment to learn in. Finally, we have our boys' high school, the newest member of the PEB Sargodha school family. During nationalization, many people illegally occupied the 5 unused acres surrounding our 2 girls' schools. This was land that rightfully belonged to PEB. The courts had to become involved, and in 2009, the property was finally cleared of all illegal occupants and returned to PEB oversight. 4 years later, the first of 9 expected phases was completed for the boys' high school, and this was followed by the completion of phase 2 in 2017. Because of the immense generosity of our friends throughout the United States, we are able to now offer our students not only a well-rounded education in a spacious, comfortable school building, but also a fully stocked science laboratory, as you have just seen, and a computer lab. Once all 9 building phases are complete, our male students will have the privilege of studying in a state-of-the-art school which would rival the most prestigious schools in the city. This will, of course, take some time, but 2 phases have already been built, and we expect to begin phase 3 in early 2021, which will allow for 250 more students to attend the boys' school. There is, of course, still much work to be done for the boys' school, but we are confident that God will partner us with the right people to accomplish this monumental task, and that through these partnerships, He will allow us to continue giving the gift of education to the boys of Sargodha. Now we come to the boarding house, which was opened in 2016 and has the capacity to house 100 female students. But the boarding house is not simply a place to reside. It is a community of Christian girls doing life together. Every morning and evening, there are group devotions. If you were to visit our boarding house today, you would immediately notice the joyful atmosphere that fills the building, whether it be the smiling faces that would welcome you, the warm chai that would be poured up, or the delicious meal that you would be served. But we recognize that this could have been merely a pipe dream had it not been for the many people who contributed to make this boarding house a reality. We again want to express our gratitude. Without your sacrificial gifts, these girls would not have been able to attend our PEB school. Thank you so much.
It's been my 9th year that I am living in this boarding house, and I am so happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for helping me.
Thank you so much that you are supporting me. May God bless you and fulfill your wishes. Thank you.
I love staying in the boarding house.
Thank you for giving me scholarship. Thank you for supporting me.
Thank you so much.
Dear friends, greetings from Pakistan. In my language, I always say salam. I bring salam to all of you from Sargodha, and I am talking to all the Sargodha lovers now. Dear friends, thank you indeed for trusting us. Thank you indeed for joining hands with us. And thank you indeed for having faith in PEB. Your trust and faith has really transformed the whole of Sargodha campus. But the truth of the matter is, a lot needs to be done there still. In the boarding house, we are looking forward to complete the boarding house. Even though the boarding house is incomplete, girls are really happy. They are enjoying themselves. You are helping them, providing a place which they call home away from home. And we have to add a dining room, a kitchen area, and some other areas in that boarding house. Sargodha Boys School has transformed many lives. Your trust in us, in starting with that boys' school, is amazing. But we are looking forward to add the next phase in Sargodha Boys School. Your support is going to transform many lives there. And your support is going to be our strength in Sargodha and in PEB. Thank you for joining hands. Thank you for giving new life to the dry bones of educational system in Pakistan. May God bless you all. May God bless America. And may God bless Pakistan. I always say, Pakistan Zindabad.
That video was done probably 2020, I would guess, probably. So even, some of the things, the pandemic had started, but some other things hadn't occurred yet. But I wanted to show you on the Sargodha campus, wait, I want to do that one. On the Sargodha campus, the boarding house did start happening. And there was a woman in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Emily Brink, who really did this. That's how they do construction. Yeah. done, it's manual labor. They don't bring in heavy equipment. This is all done manual labor. Charlie, you'd love it. And it gives these people a lot of work. And they've been working with one construction company down there in an architecture firm, the Zor Engineers. And since they found this group, they've done all the buildings on every campus with them. Just amazing. And like I said, when we were there, they gave us a challenge to help do this school. So we took it on to do phase 3 of this boys' school building. This is groundbreaking for the boys' school. We've seen this, I think, but I have one more video to show you. I think this might have actually happened the same day. They had 2 groundbreakings.
Thank you so much, all of you. Let's clap, all of you. And today, standing here, I'm saying big thank you to Derry Presbyterian Church in United States. Derry Presbyterian Church has been a supporter of Presbyterian Education Board and the Sargodha lovers. They saw your beautiful faces. They saw the commitment of the teachers, principals, staff, PB staff, and they joined hands for the next phase, and we call them now, those 12, those who came to Pakistan, we call them Derry Dozen. So let's give a big hand to Derry Dozen. Derry Dozen. So together we are going to say, Derry Dozen, thank you. Derry Dozen, thank you. Thank you.
That's the challenge we took on, the Derry Dozen. So we did a kind of a campaign among ourselves and just asking a few Derry friends and members. And Pete, I'm not sure where we are now. We're 2/3?
I think we're about 30,000 short.
3,000?
30,000.
30,000 short of the 400. I mean,
It's 4,
it gives me goosebumps when I think what we did, and we didn't even make it a broadcast around the congregation that we were going to do this. So I'm so excited, and this is one of the reasons we want, when we go to 2024, to go and dedicate this phase 3. And I just got this Wednesday. Is that giving you a big screen?
Dear friends,
No.
it was a joy to visit Sargodha Boys School and see the construction work in progress. PB team was able to meet with Zor engineers and get the progress report. I was extremely pleased with the progress of the construction work.
There it comes.
Foundations are now 100% completed. Internal drainage system is also completed. 30% of the masonry work is completed also.
The children were so excited to see the work. Children visited the site. It was a joy to see the children. Dear friends, thank you indeed for joining hands. And Derry Dozens, thank you so much once again. You all are amazing. You all are wonderful. And this report is as of 7th of April. The only challenge was that the weather was 42 degrees.
I don't think that's
Just
ours.
remember us in your prayers. May God bless you all. May God bless Pakistan. Pakistan, Zindabad.
I think I'm probably gonna lose the online people. Thank you for